Mario! Okay, which Mario, though? Illumination's Super Mario Bros. Movie introduces us to a brand new Mario with a brand new continuity. We know the movie is separate from the games due to various creative choices and contradictions seen throughout the trailers. It's quite common for video game adaptations in general to create their own continuities to work with. For example, take a look at the Sonic movie. While the Mario movie is much more faithful to the source material, it is still most certainly set in a separate canon as well. And to the people who say Mario has no canon, he does.
That's right, famous Californian YouTuber Dan Nintendude.
Hey, it's famous Irish YouTuber Sean D. Walsh! He's here to help me with this video, talking about many of the contradictions between the Mario movie and the games.
At the time of this recording, the film is not yet out, and we're basing everything upon pre-release media.
After we see the film, a follow-up video will be made with new details and to correct anything we got wrong. This video will be split up into 3 segments: Mario's origins, notable lore, and finally a lightning round for details and lore that don't need much explanation.
For the sake of simplicity, we'll be referring to the game continuity as the Gameverse and the film continuity as the Movieverse.
Now, let's get started.
As the film is supposed to be an origin story, let's start with how its interpretation compares to the origins in the Gameverse. Movieverse Mario and Luigi are Italians born in real-world Brooklyn, New York. This decision was most likely to appeal to fans in the US who grew up watching the Super Mario Bros. Super Show, and the Adventures of Super Mario Bros. 3 and Super Mario World. While creator of Mario, Shigeru Miyamoto, has said the original Mario Bros. Setting was based on New York, the Bros being from Brooklyn was never stated in official games or manuals.
Miyamoto had mentioned Brooklyn before in an interview for a Japanese strategy guide for Super Mario 64, where he says, "It's a given that Mario is an Italian-American from Brooklyn."
However, the context is regarding Mario's voice direction, not his origins. And regardless of that interview, the games had already shown a different story.
The city from the Mario Bros. Arcade game is most definitely the same city featured in the original Donkey Kong arcade game. In its Game Boy sequel, also titled Donkey Kong, Mario chases DK across the world, starting in Big City, the same city from the original, and ending in the Mushroom Kingdom. This shows that the Mushroom Kingdom and Big City are on the same planet. A year later, Donkey Kong Land featured Big City as the final world. Now referred to as Big Ape City, the Kongs get there by taking a Zeppelin from DK Island. And of course, Super Mario Odyssey reintroduced Big City as New Donk City, and reiterated that this is where the original Donkey Kong took place, and showed once again that it shares a planet with the Mushroom Kingdom.
So, we know that Big City, the Mushroom Kingdom, and Donkey Kong Island are all on the same planet, but it's obvious in the Movieverse that New York is not.
Speaking of Donkey Kong, did that game even happen in the Movieverse?
It's unlikely, but we'll get back to that during the notable lore section of the video. Back to Brooklyn though. Game Mario was born in the Mushroom Kingdom. This is first shown in Yoshi's Island, where you see the Bros get delivered to their parents in the Mushroom Kingdom. And yes, this is the Mushroom Kingdom. Yoshi's new island picks up at the end of the original, revealing that the stork brought them to the wrong house, but the correct house is still in the Mushroom Kingdom, so it doesn't mess anything up. Yoshi's Island DS and the past sections of Partners in Time also show them living in the Mushroom Kingdom.
And more recently, at E3 2017, when asked if Mario is human, referring to how he looks so different from the people of New Donk City, Nintendo's official statement was that Mario is a native son of the Mushroom Kingdom. It's likely that the Bros family moved to New Donk City at some point while they were young, and that's why the Bros lived there as adults in many early games. Finally moving on, how did the Bros get to the Mushroom Kingdom for their first adventure?
In the Gameverse, Nintendo actually made an official Super Mario Maker level about this. The level Did Somebody Call a Plumber has Mario and Luigi enter city sewers to fight off Koopa Troopas in a recreation of the Mario Bros. Arcade game. After the events of Mario Bros., Mario and Luigi followed Bowser's minions and wound up back in the Mushroom Kingdom. This makes Super Mario Bros. A direct sequel to the arcade game. In the plot of Super Mario Bros., Bowser invades the Mushroom Kingdom and uses his dark magic to turn the Mushroom People into stones, bricks, and horsetail plants. He also kidnaps the ruler of the kingdom, Princess Peach, as she's the only one who can break the spell. Mario hears of the kingdom's plight and sets out across the many lands of the Mushroom Kingdom to free the Toads and save Princess Peach. In this game, Mario and Luigi wear their classic outfits, Mario with red overalls, Luigi with green, and both with blue shirts.
In the Movieverse, Mario and Luigi stumble into a warp zone while in the Brooklyn sewers. Luigi gets taken to the Darklands, wastelands ruled by Bowser, and Mario ends up outside of the Mushroom Kingdom. Bowser steals the Superstar from the Penguin's Kingdom, and instead of merely conquering the Mushroom Kingdom, he also plots to destroy it.
We will destroy the Mushroom Kingdom!
Mario must save his brother from Bowser, traveling not just through the Mushroom Kingdom, but through others, such as the Jungle Kingdom. Additionally, Peach and Toad have not been captured, and instead join Mario on his adventure. Mario and Luigi wear their standard blue overalls throughout the film. Even from this brief synopsis, you can probably notice how much is completely different. I think all of this makes it abundantly clear that the Gameverse is a separate continuity. You may think the point about the outfit colors is trivial, but Nintendo references the classic outfits all the time. And while on the topic, Peach's outfit is also inaccurate. Her dress in the film is based on her modern one rather than her classic. Now let's talk about some choices in the film drastically contradict things stated in the games, and that's what this section, Notable Lore, is for. Starting with, one of the main conflicts of the film is Bowser stealing the Superstar. It's possible this is a Power Star, but the Japanese website for the film calls it a Superstar, and either way, it contradicts the games.
Superstars are power-ups that grant temporary invincibility. They're abundant all over the Mushroom Kingdom. In Mario's first adventure, Super Mario Bros., they're absolutely everywhere. So the Superstar being some fabled artifact of immense power just doesn't work.
I think there might be more than one Superstar in the movie. Maybe Lumali will turn into one and Mario will use it in the fight against Bowser. But even still, it just doesn't make sense for so much emphasis to be placed upon the one Bowser stole.
I think it's possible that each kingdom in the movie will have its own superstar. Bowser is trying to claim them all to take over the universe. This is based on the fact that 6 kingdoms can be seen on the map in Peach's castle from the trailer, including the fallen Ice Kingdom that we see Bowser steal the star from. This, of course, lines up with the 6 star emblems we see in a later scene.
Moving on, Power Stars, introduced in Super Mario 64, act as a power source. There are a whopping 120 that power Peach's castle. In Super Mario Galaxy, they return, again as a power source, this time for the Comet Observatory. And we even get some sweet lore about what they are and where they come from. And again, there are 120 to be found all across the areas of the universe that you explore. In Super Mario Galaxy 2, the Power Stars act as a power source for Starship Mario.
And at the end of the game, a green comet showers green power stars all over the universe. Remember that, because I'll be coming back to it in just a second.
In Super Mario Odyssey, Power Stars reappear in the Mushroom Kingdom, and interestingly, Cappy notes that Power Stars are just power moons with a different shape. And power moons are all over the planet. I'm talking about several hundreds of them. And it's likely Shine Sprites and Cat Shines are also the same as Power Stars, which means you've got an entire planet with loads of Power Stars everywhere. And Bowser stealing one of them is a big deal? The New Donk City power plant drains a power moon like once every second. This is not even mentioning Grand Stars, which are extra powerful Power Stars. Bowser ate one of these in Galaxy 2 and became a giant as a result.
By the way, remember green stars? Well, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker's ending shows one of these green stars raining down onto Mario's planet, and Captain Toad follows it to the Sprixie Kingdom, the setting of Super Mario 3D World. the game with hundreds of green stars as insignificant collectibles. There are 380 green stars in the game, not to mention that Captain Toad had just collected several power stars in his own adventure prior to this. There are so many power stars! Anyway, I think we've made our point. Whether it's a superstar or a power star, it doesn't matter. It's incompatible with what the Gameverse has established.
And even if there is more than one star and each kingdom has its own for Bowser to steal, what's 6 stars gonna do? It doesn't work.
Hey, let's take a break and briefly talk about the characters and their portrayals in this film. From what we've seen of the characters, the two main ones that stand out as different are Toad and Princess Peach.
Toad is an interesting case. We don't actually see much of Toad's personality in the games. We know he's pretty much Peach's best friend, an extremely loyal one at that, and that he acts as an advisor to her as well. He's also a killer Mario Party host, and a bad driver. But he's up for a little adventure, as we see in Super Mario Bros. 2 and 3D World. The Movieverse take on his character isn't too off, but it's still worth mentioning. We don't really know Toad's relationship with Peach at this point, but it seems that he might be trying to impress her? And if these guys are the mushroom retainers from Super Mario Bros., Toad is supposed to be one of them. Last thing to mention is his backpack, which has been leading people to believe his character may have been merged with Captain Toad. And if that's the case, that's definitely a contradiction, because yes, Toad and Captain Toad are separate characters.
Oh, Princess Peach. What can we even say about Princess Peach? She's definitely been changed the most for this film. In the Gameverse, she's super bubbly and nice and girly. Movie Peach, while she does have a fun side, seems to be much more serious, stoic, and maybe even a bit philosophical.
There's a huge universe out there.
There's been a lot of debate about whether Peach should be able to fight or not, but that isn't an issue. Peach has fought in many games, even as early on as Super Mario Bros. 2. She can fight and stand up for herself when she needs to. The main difference is that while Movie Peach is grabbing a halberd and confidently marching towards Bowser to fight, Game Peach would probably be more likely to sneak in and use her wits to catch Bowser off guard. Bowser is a powerhouse that even Mario can't beat a lot of the time, so it's important for her to be smart and resourceful. Who knows how she'll act in the final movie, but for now, we can at least say that she acts quite differently from her game counterpart.
Now, regarding the other characters, they're actually pretty fine from what we've seen. Mario seems like he may be a little bit too cocky, but Luigi seems pretty standard. We haven't seen much of Donkey Kong, but at most he's a little too childish. Bowser might be a little on the cruel side, but they seem to be balancing his evil and goofy sides pretty well.
Him not knowing the name of one of his main soldiers is pretty odd though.
Whatever those things are!
These are Spinies, by the way, a species of Koopa, which Bowser also is.
Okay, moving on. Before we begin, there are some important things to go over. So it's time for a Donkey Kong crash course! This is the original Donkey Kong. He starred in the arcade games, the Game Boy sequel, and appeared in a handful of spin-off titles. This is his son, Donkey Kong Jr. He was the star of Donkey Kong Jr., a sequel to the original arcade game. Just like his dad, he reappeared in the Game Boy game and had a number of spin-off appearances.
The original Donkey Kong would go on to grow old and become Cranky Kong. The modern Donkey Kong that we're all familiar with is Cranky Kong's grandson, making Donkey Kong Jr. his dad. This is the basic Donkey Kong family tree. Now, why do we bring this up? Because the movie goes against this.
According to the Japanese website for the film, Donkey Kong is Cranky Kong's son, not grandson. And this isn't a translation error. The original text does indeed say son, not grandson. You may be aware that Cranky called DK his son in Donkey Kong 64, but that was one game. And every game before and since has called Cranky his grandfather.
Greg Mayles, who was responsible for the original backstory, joked on Twitter that perhaps by Donkey Kong 64, Cranky had become senile. DK being Cranky's son is a very clear and specific lore change in the Movieverse that goes against what we know of Cranky Kong in the Gameverse.
Now, I do actually have a theory about why they made this change. The quote from the Japanese website says that DK is Cranky Kong's son and successor. If DK was his grandson, that would raise questions as to why DK is going to be the king rather than his father. and that would mean his dad would have to be addressed. Is he dead? Is DK just more worthy of being king? And rather than having to try to answer all that, they just took the easy route out and made him Cranky's son. Does that make sense?
Oh, and yeah, Cranky Kong is the king of the entire Kong civilization. There are lots of problems here. In the gameverse, Cranky isn't a lavish king, but more like a village elder or chieftain. And speaking of that Kong civilization, there are not this many Kongs in the games. The Kong family has always been depicted as a fairly small group. There isn't even a central city or village or anything, just a few huts across the island. These Kongs even live in other locations, like the Northern Hemisphere from Donkey Kong Country 3. Wrinkly, Kiddy, and Funky seem to live here. Likely Chunky Kong as well. Wrinkly died though.
In the gameverse, there are loads of ancient Kong ruins across DK Island, but in the movieverse, they aren't ancient. Or ruins, they're buildings that are part of the current living Kong civilization. And speaking more about the Kong civilization, they drive around their roads on custom carts, which definitely doesn't happen in the gameverse. They're all about that barrel cannon transport. Another big thing to note is that the Kongs don't even speak English in the gameverse. They speak some sort of animal or Kong language. They can clearly speak in the movieverse though.
I'm sorry. Okay. Now you die.
In the marketing for this film, they've been referring to the island as the Jungle Kingdom. Perhaps it's still called Donkey Kong Island, and it's just within the Jungle Kingdom, but it's worth noting. Oh, and of course, the design of the island is entirely different, with this golden head waterfall being the main attraction rather than the volcano. And if this is Mario's first adventure, the big DK head and glacier should still be around. And come to think of it, on the topic of first adventures...
The original Donkey Kong arcade game? Yeah, it definitely didn't happen in the film. Well, okay, we don't know for sure until the film releases, but I'm not really seeing any time for them to squeeze it in. Cranky Kong is an established king of a huge civilization here, so I don't think he had time to go run around real-world New York when he was younger. In the gameverse, there's a few instances of Kong's aging super-duper quickly, so the fact Mario looks the same while Cranky got old isn't that big of a problem, but I doubt they'd want to confuse viewers by having someone visibly age so much in the film. Oh, and we've got to mention DK's new design. Donkey Kong's design is based a lot more on Miyamoto's original Donkey Kong design, especially Yoichi Kotabe's rendition of it for the Gameboy game. Pretty interesting. Anyway, we've been talking about Kongs for a long time, so we should probably move on. The first Mario Kart tournament was Super Mario Kart. Compared to later entries, it seems pretty low budget, with not too many big set pieces or hazards. Everyone drives around in pipe frame karts, and would continue to do so until Mario Kart Double Dash. So it's a little odd that there are already fancy kart customization features in the Jungle Kingdom, including custom wheels and gliders, which weren't involved until Mario Kart 7. There are even bikes, which weren't introduced until Mario Kart Wii, and also anti-gravity, which didn't come about until Mario Kart 8. And Lakitu, a key component of Mario Kart, is nowhere to be seen.
There isn't really much else to say, but the state of the karts in the movieverse is definitely far beyond the scope of the original Mario Kart tournament. The only things the Kongs, or Kong in this case, contributed there were banana peels.
Whew. That's all the notable lore things we wanted to talk about, so it's time for the lightning round. Let's go!
These seemingly adult penguins are baby penguin sized. Children and adults are much bigger in the gameverse.
The Koopa Troop is outfitted with armor and spears. In the gameverse, they've never used spears, and they seldom wear armor, but when they do, it doesn't look like that.
It's possible that Movieverse Foreman Spike runs a plumbing business, but in the gameverse he owns a demolition company called the Wrecking Crew.
Movieverse Pauline is wearing the same suit she wears in Super Mario Odyssey, meaning she's possibly the mayor of New York? In the gameverse, she wouldn't have been mayor at this point, not to mention she'd be the mayor of New Donk, not New York.
Mario and Luigi are service plumbers in the movie, while they're construction plumbers in the games. Service plumbers are the kind you call to fix a leaky sink or a clogged toilet, while construction plumbers install the actual pipes, drainage systems, etc. during the construction of a building.
Movieverse Mario and Luigi are sucked into the warp pipe, instead of fighting Bowser's minions in the sewers and following them to the Mushroom Kingdom. The inside of a warp pipe in the Movieverse appears to be quite different than how it appears in Super Mario 3D World.
Tall mushrooms are everywhere in the Movieverse Mushroom Kingdom, despite being concentrated to smaller areas in the Gameverse. Floating islands are also everywhere, while in the Gameverse, there aren't really that many floating islands at all.
In place of Toad Town is a huge, sprawling city compared to the quaint small village we see in the games. Those iconic colorful hills are all over the plains in the Gameverse, but only around the town in the movie. The trees in the town are literally just green Super Bell trees for some reason.
Clear pipes are in the Mushroom Kingdom prior to the events of Super Mario 3D World. In the Gameverse, Goombas were originally allied with the Mushroom Kingdom, but betrayed them to join Bowser. This doesn't seem like the case in the Movieverse.
The Darklands don't exist in the Gameverse. While clearly based on Darkland from Super Mario Bros. 3, this is probably more like the equivalent of the Koopa Kingdom, or perhaps a land Bowser previously destroyed and conquered.
The map, while likely not the entire world, has things placed in odd locations compared to where they'd theoretically be in the games. Donkey Kong Island is likely near New Donk City, and thus should be east, not west. Yoshi's Island is in Dinosaur Land, probably around the Cascade Kingdom, so it should be north.
Also, Yoshi's Island and DK Island are just pretty big in general compared to the Darklands and the Ice Kingdom. And if this is the Sand Kingdom, it should be northwest.
The inverted pyramid in Toast Arena is floating before it's raised during the events of Super Mario Odyssey. Also, the pyramid was hexagonal in Odyssey, but it doesn't appear to be here.
There's a catsuit on DK Island for some reason. Fire Donkey Kong has a different design than in Mario vs. Donkey Kong 2 March of the Minis.
In the movie, the Super Mushroom doubles Mario's size. In the games, it either heals or returns Mario to normal if he's become small. Mario is already normal in the movie, so he shouldn't have grown at all here.
And finally, there are Bramballs outside of the jungle. In the Gameverse, we've only ever seen them in the jungle. Hashtag Bramball Nation. So there you have it. Those are a whole lot of reasons why the Super Mario Bros. Movie is in a separate continuity from the games. This movie is sure to bring about countless brand new Mario fans who don't know much about the series. And if you're one of those new fans, hopefully watching this video has helped you out. And welcome to the world of Super Mario.
The Mario series is supposed to bring fun to everyone, so please be kind and polite if you feel the need to correct anybody about anything. And make sure to do your own research as well.
This movie is super exciting for all of us, whether we're hyped as heck, casually optimistic, or if we even think it's bad. Make sure to respect others' opinions, and let's go out and watch that film. I'll see you guys again in a few weeks with a more casual part 2. Any last words, Sean?
Oh, me? Well, I'd just like to say thank you for having me on today. I run my own YouTube channel where I primarily discuss Mario lore, as well as Project Marioverse, which is a community for discussing the lore and creating theories, maps, and timelines of the canon of the Mario games. Feel free to check out either of those if you think you're interested. And I guess, I'll see you dudes later.
Thank you so much for helping out, Sean. We will indeed see you later. And special thanks to those on Discord who gave suggestions and/or looked over part of the script. You were all a great help in making this video the best it could be. Well, that's it. Bramble Nation,